The Last of the 20, Book 2, The Quest, by Wdowski. Chapter 3, Barricade. Should we head back and comb the buildings on the east side? Perhaps we can find materials to build a ramp? Nathan threw out another idea. Or we could lash 3 steel beams into a tripod, mount a pulley at the apex, and run a steel cable through it. We could raise each of the robots and swing them over the wall to the other side. Those are ideas. I like the tripod hoist idea. Well done, Nathan, his father responded. But, Nathan asked, finding enough building materials to build a ramp to get over 14-foot tall walls and another ramp to get down on the other side is feasible. It would mean we would most likely be losing at least a day or two. We would need to double back, find enough building materials, transport them all back here with only the 2 robots to help. We are talking several round trips. Once we have gathered enough material together, we would then need to assemble both ramps. Okay, I get it. Not a very practical solution. What about my tripod hoist idea? Like I said, a much better idea. Miller conferred with 124. How much would steel beams weigh? To get over a 14-foot wall and have enough space for me and the mule to clear the top and swing over to the other side, we would need 3 20-foot-long beams. Steel would weigh at least 700 pounds each. Tree trunks would need to be strong enough and long enough, at least 500 to 700 pounds each. Can the mule carry that much weight? Nathan asked. My carry capacity is 1,000 pounds, the mule responded, meaning we would need to strip it down of our gear it's carrying for us now, and would have to make at least 3 round trips, Miller pointed out. That doesn't include finding strong enough cable or climbing rope and a pulley. Miller looked back at the ruins they left behind on the east bank. Perhaps we can find an old hardware store for those materials. But how can only the 2 of us lift 1,000-pound beams up onto the mule and then actually erect them and bind them into a stable tripod? Nathan answered, disappointed. That idea is not practical either. But you are thinking. That is our advantage, Nathan. His father encouraged his son for brainstorming. I've been doing some thinking too. On second thought, your ramp idea is the better one. But you said we don't have the building materials, and going back and transporting the needed materials will take up too much time. Nathan sounded confused. We actually have the building materials for the ramps right here. No need to go back. His father replied. We do? The bones? Nathan guessed. We do, but not the bones, the bales themselves. Miller responded. 124, your plasma stream cutter can cut through the HESCO fabric casing? Easily. 1 to 24 did not need to even scan or calculate it. 70-year-old skins out in the elements, I'm actually surprised they have not broken their seals on their own. They really knew how to make things in the past. Cut the casing? Nathan questioned. Miller pointed at the bales. Once 124 cuts through the casing, gravity will do the rest. The soil and gravel will spill out, creating the breach and ramps the robots would need to get over to the other side. I should have thought of it. 1 to 24 admitted. It is a very logical and simple solution. Most things are once someone points out how to do them, Miller responded. Would you now be so kind? He gestured to 124 to move forward to the defensive works. His treads once again crushed more bones under its weight as it rolled up to the center of the barricade. He extended one of his arms. Between his mechanical thumb and mechanical index finger, his thorium reactor generated enough electrical energy to produce an intense bright blue-white plasma beam arc. At 54,000 degrees Fahrenheit, the vertical slice melted the HESCO aged wire mesh and composite fabric casing like a glowing heated blade through butter. He had only cut halfway down the lower 9-foot-tall bale when the weight of its contents came down like an avalanche, completely burying 124. Miller and Nathan both ran to the robotic mule and took spades off it. They rushed to MCS 124's aid and immediately began trying to dig him out. Once they removed enough of the soil and gravel, 124's telescopic head popped up. If you remove the soil behind me, I can drive myself out. Like a vehicle? Nathan giggled. Miller could not help smirking at the expense of his old mechanical companion. Are you okay, 124? The robot swiveled his head to Miller. Please dig me out. They both worked frantically to remove enough of the spilled material so 124's treads could back up and drive him out. Miller and Nathan brushed the dirt off the mobile command station. Better? Miller asked. Yes, thank you both, 124 replied. Miller and Nathan used their shovels to fill in the hole that they had dug 124 out of. Once that was done, they used the shovels and their heavy boots to pack down the soil and gravel, forming a firm 30-degree slope over the crumbled mound, and a reverse slope to the western side of the barricade. Finishing, they packed the shovels back onto the robotic mule. 1 to 24, you go before the mule. Your weight and treads will pack down the soil even more so, making it even more stable so the mule's legs won't sink into the dirt, Miller ordered. I don't want to spend the time digging it out. Nathan followed close behind the mule to make sure nothing fell off it. Miller stood at the top of their makeshift mound and checked his clock on his HUD, which read 14:45. Pick up the pace. We have 5 hours and 17 minutes to get past their nests before
sunset.
Both machines sped up slightly as they made it over the barricade and onto the western bank of the Hudson River. Nathan, following close behind, stopped as he reached the top of the mound. Those are military vehicles? He rushed down first to the heavily armored dark green off-road four-wheel drive military truck. Alongside it were two much larger tracked armored personnel carriers. Pop, can you drive these? Miller approached the vehicles. I've been trained in both, but only in simulators. I've never actually driven either. What are they? Nathan asked excitedly. Unlike the cars they have come across, their hulls looked intact. Their composite armor had weathered the years much better than the rusting civilian vehicles they have come across. The one you are standing next to is a JLTV-C2. A what? Nathan carefully walked through the thousands of bones piled up around the vehicles. A Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, a JLTV. It is most likely a C2, second-generation command variant. The two large tracked beasts are XM-30 Mechanized Infantry Combat Vehicles, MICVs. Mounted on top of them are 50mm Bushmaster cannon. If we use the JLTV, how long for us to reach Princeton? Nathan asked 124. About 2 hours if the roads are clear enough, MCS 124 answered. And by foot? If we can do at least 12 miles a day, it will be 7 days. If you can do 15 miles a day, it would shave a day off my estimate, young Mr. Miller. We should take this one. Nathan opened the driver's door, which had not been opened for 70 years. He stepped back in shock. Seated behind the wheel was the remarkably well-preserved body of an Army major. The JLTV's CBRN protected, sealed crew compartment had shielded the remains from the elements for decades. Though little more than a skeleton, patches of dried skin, tendons, and hair still held much of the body together. A Glock lay on the passenger seat, beside the bones of the major's right hand. The skull bore a small entry hole in the right temple, and a much larger exit wound where the left temple had once been. Miller walked up from behind Nathan to see what startled him. It looks like he took his own life at the end. Nathan, regaining his composure, stepped back up to look into the cab. We can clean this out and take the vehicle. Does it still have fuel? Can you start it, Pop? Can you drive us there? No more walking? The robots should be able to keep up. No? We cannot use the vehicles. Miller closed the door of the truck. You said you know how to drive these. Nathan was annoyed. I do, but the fuel, if there is any fuel in the tanks, is useless. Miller began walking to continue west. The two robots followed him. Nathan did not follow. He stubbornly stood beside the command vehicle. You want to walk? MCS 124 stopped and swiveled his head 180 degrees. Young Mr. Miller, Commander Miller is correct. The fuel in these vehicles expired 65 years ago. JP8 fuel has a much longer shelf life than domestic gasoline or diesel, but it still chemically breaks down over time. Fuel expires, just not as quickly as milk, but it does. Besides, most of the rubber engine gaskets and hoses have become brittle over the decades, and nearly all batteries have long since failed. Even if you could find fresh fuel, which you will not, none of these vehicles will turn over. These machines, as advanced as they are, need to be constantly maintained to keep running. With a huff, Nathan gave in. He adjusted the sling of his rifle and ran up alongside his father. Miller looked down at his son, who was a couple of inches shorter than him, and smiled. Happy you decided to join us. Be sure to continue to Chapter 4, Camp 5, Suffern, New York.
To support the author, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.